Hey guys, Captain Foley back with you for another Eaglemoss product review. Welcome back, guys. It's been good getting back into these Eaglemoss reviews. I've got a lot more to cover. Don't worry, we're not going to run out of material anytime soon. Today we're going to be looking at another one of the XLs. I know I've been focusing on XLs. I'm going to get to the standard collection again soon. Don't worry. Today is the USS Enterprise J XL version. Not the biggest fan of the Enterprise J personally, but it is one of the Enterprise lineage, so you know they've got the small regular collection version out. This is the XL. We're going to take a look at it today. Here's the box. You got a great shot of the ship from the front, and then on the side here, another great view of it as well. So if you are a fan of this ship, this is a good one to add to your collection. As I've always said, the boxes of these are great. You can put it up on a high shelf, stack them up. If you don't have room to display the ships, you can still display them even when they're in the box, or whatever. So there's different ways to show it off if you don't have the room necessarily to show it off, which is sometimes the case. So that is the box. Let's look at the magazine and get into this review. So here it is here, a great shot of the ship on the front. There are a few angles I don't mind the ship from. There are issues with it that just don't really speak to me. We've done some great talks with Doug, the designer of this, Doug Drexler, on our show. And so some really good episodes on here about this ship. So if you want to check those out and get the behind the scenes, feel free. Doug's great, and it's always entertaining to watch Doug. So yeah, great shot of the ship. Down here we got some specifications. Universe class, launched 26th century, operated by the United Federation of Planets, length 3,219 meters. So this is a big ship. The Universe class was a fan designation for this ship, which then became canon because Doug liked it, and I think it's a great name for the class of ships. So opening this up, we got the standard how to put it on the stand. And yeah, so those are always worth checking out, because the last review I did, the Vulcan long-range shuttle actually goes on differently, so worth pointing that out. Over here we got a view of the ship from the side, which I can't stand the profile of this thing. Sorry, Doug. Just not a fan. You can see it looks very slender and not great. Underneath, though, we've got some more specifications. Let's read those. First appears Azadi Prime. Last appears Azadi Prime. Operational 26th century, designed by Doug Drexler. Here on the bottom, we got some great views of the model, some close-up views of the 3D model that they used to create this ship. So we're going to get into looking at the actual model and doing some close-up views in a second here. So just stay tuned for that. But yeah, so designing the Enterprise J. So some nice concept sketches here, some really nice designs. I actually prefer this one here a little bit better than the final version. Here we got another view of it, kind of a spindly looking ship. It says the Enterprise J was designed in less than 2 days. The process began with some very quick sketches. So yeah, like I said, check out the episodes with Doug that we talk about the Enterprise J. There's some really fun episodes, and I think you guys will really like those. Next up, we got another concept shot. This one, not so great, not a huge fan of that, but it's got the Enterprise NX-01 there for comparison, and it says, Drexler wanted the J to be the biggest Enterprise ever, and says that it is 2 miles long. So it's a big ship. Down here is one of my actual favorite ones. This was a proposed design for Voyager. As it says here, it says, Drexler also revived a concept that he and Mike Okuda proposed as a possible design for the USS Voyager. This became another ship in Eaglemoss. I will be reviewing that one at some point soon. I really like that design. It looks really cool. Up here, again, a much better version of what the J should have looked like, in my opinion. In this one it says, because Drexler was working in CG, he could produce variants of his designs with relative ease. This version combined elements of the 2 other designs he put forward. And then down here is the final version, cruising through space. This design, which Drexler dubbed the Universe class, was approved without any changes. And it's on screen for, it's on a background display for maybe 6 seconds, if that. So it goes on to talk about Doug Drexler's Starship designs. There's some really great ones here, and I'm a big fan of these concepts for the NX-01. Says here, Doug Drexler has contributed the designs of some of the most memorable ships in Star Trek history. The most famous and most challenging was the Enterprise NX-01, which he designed in 3D, working with production designer Herman Zimmerman. So we got some different views of the different ring ships that he has, and then one with like, almost like fins, like a fighter jet of some kind. Really cool designs. I would like to see Eaglemoss make these, because I would be down for getting those. I'm not a fan of ring ships in general, but that is what it is. Next page, we got more of design work. There's a really great one up here. This one says, the story of Voyager's pilot described Janeway's ship as being like a bullet. So Drexler offered a long, thin design that anticipated the look of the Enterprise F. And then two more down here. We got this one here, which is a ring ship, which looks like a very early version of what we got for a Vulcan ship. Drexler often returned to Matt Jeffries' rejected designs for inspiration, and the ring in the center of this ship was drawn from one of Jeffries' concepts for the original Enterprise. Here is another interesting, fascinating kind of design. Again, not my favorite, but I would like to see this one brought to life by Eaglemoss. For this one it says, Drexler and Okuda worked up this design for Voyager, which had a V-shaped primary hull instead of a saucer. Going to the next page, again, this is some of the artwork from Ships of the Line calendar, which I've been a fan of and have almost all of them. Get them every year. But this is a fantastic design. The ship with the V-shaped hull eventually became the USS Altair, which appeared in Ships of the Line calendar. And I do have the Altair from Eaglemoss. They did create this one. It is a fantastic little design. I really like it. I like that one of the original designs for the Enterprise J was this with a saucer attached to it. But it had a secondary hull, and the producers didn't really want that. They wanted the ship to be able to be visually recognizable to the audience as being descended from the NX-01, so they put the deflector on the front, which I think is kind of stupid. But down here we got some other sketches there. Drexler offered several variations of his Voyager designs to Herman Zimmerman, showing different shapes of saucer and arrangement of nacelles. Over here we got a fantastic Romulan sketch. Drexler based the design of the Romulan shuttle on his pet parrot, Bakar, and Andy Probert's design for the Warbird. He was delighted with the model below, which was built by Tony Mellinger's workshop. So there's the sketch, there's the actual model that was used in the show, TNG, and really, really great. So Doug does some good work. Doug's a good guy. Next up we got some shuttle variants here. Drexler designed a new shuttle for the Defiant as a favor to Gary Hutzel. He offered him two concepts, which Hutzel combined to come up with the final design, which we know as the Chaffee. The Chaffee is the final design, but there you go. Over here we got the Borg Tactical Cube, some concept art for that, just some Borg designs, which is kind of neat. The Tactical Borg Cube was a heavily armed version of the familiar Borg ship. With his tongue firmly in his cheek, Drexler offered the suggestion that it could be a pyramid. The producers finally settled on a cube in a flak jacket. So the Tactical Cube is essentially that. It's an armored Borg cube. Here, of course, is the NX-01, one of Doug's most famously designed ships, one of the most thought out ships in Star Trek history. There's like everything is thought out on this ship. It's actually really great to hear Doug talk about it. I suggest checking out our videos with Doug talking about the NX-01 as well. Designing the NX-01 was a long process that involved a lot of dead ends. The final solution was to base the ship on the Akira class, which Drexler realized was a shape that could evolve into the familiar layout of Kirk's Enterprise. And of course, over here, he also was famous for doing the Vulcan ships in Enterprise. There's a bunch of different variations here on the ring ship design, and then a few without as well. It goes on to say, during Star Trek Enterprise's first season, Drexler designed the Surat class, which was one of the first Vulcan ships we saw clearly. Once again, he used an engine hoop that was inspired by Matt Jeffries' designs. And as I said, I know it's kind of a real-world working theory that we could use ring ships to kind of get faster than light travel. I don't like the looks of ring ships personally, but the Vulcan design is kind of neat, so it's good to see that progression as well. We talk about that on the show as well, so check those out. He also designed a couple of ships for the Xindi. There's some of them up there. The Xindi reptilian ship was designed in the computer using what Drexler describes as gesture sketches, a series of quick models intended to show basic shapes. Down here is another one. This is more like the final one that we got on the show. The final design for the Xindi reptilian ship was more organic than most earlier designs and took advantage of CG modeling strengths. And of course here is the NX-01. But with the secondary hull. This was going to be the refit. This is the one that when Doug was designing the NX-01, he was all holding it up to see, you know, to get the shapes right so that he could add a secondary hull to tie it in more with Kirk's Enterprise and TOS. So unfortunately we never got this. Maybe season 5 we would have got it, but it was really cool to see that. Eaglemoss has made a great version of that, which I don't believe I've done a review of. I do own the ship though, so I might have to do that at some point. But I love the refitted SS Enterprise, as it's called. After Star Trek Enterprise had finished, Drexler returned to the design of the NX-01 and added a secondary hull showing how it would evolve. So that's it for the magazine. On the back we got a great picture of the Universe class, or the Enterprise J, from the top. And, you know, the top view is not so bad. I just have a few issues with a few of the shapes that are in this ship from certain angles. But that's just me being picky, as I tend to be sometimes. So anyway, that is the magazine, guys. Now let's move on to the actual model itself. There's a lot in that magazine, and if you're a fan of Doug Drexler, this one's worth getting. Maybe even if you're not a fan of the Enterprise J itself, just for the magazine, because the magazine's got some fantastic stuff about Doug in there and his different designs. So, all right, so here it is, about as big as my head. Pretty hefty. Like the entire saucer section here you can tell is metal. The rest is all plastic. And unfortunately this one out of the box is loose. Like you see, I can push down on that and it pops right back up. That's an easy fix. There's a peg there. You can see the pegs in there. Just like a little drop of glue in each of those, hold that down and you'll be fine. But it is loose out of the box for me, unfortunately, which is a little bit of a downside to this one, but there it is. So yeah, anyway, let's take a look at this thing. The top has a bunch of large windows. We assume they're windows, very, very large windows considering the size of this ship. Inner parts and outer ones as well. Also a lot of white dots. I don't know what the white dots are, if those are weapons placements. I don't think they would be. Doug's not a fan of Starfleet fighting. He's more of a peaceful guy. So I don't know what those are necessarily. I would need to ask him. But, I mean, they're all over the ship, as you can see, this top view here. Lots near the front as well. The plating around the inside and most of the saucer there is little gray and silver plates that kind of overlay each other. Look really good. The windows, we'll call them windows, are long strips. They look kind of strange, but you know, they work. They can imagine them being different things. We've talked to Doug quite extensively about what the ship can do, or what it could possibly do, and he's very much a forward thinker. He doesn't have the ape brain, as he calls it. So there's a lot of cool stuff in those videos with Doug. The bridge section is, you know, not as prominent as most bridge sections of most ships, but it is there. And it's got a big white and yellow ring around it. I don't know if that's a window, or what that is specifically. On the front, very tiny, very, very tiny. You probably can't see it. In the picture, though, you'll see it says USS Enterprise NCC 1701. And I believe there's no J there. There is a kind of a blemish right underneath the registry. I'm not sure what that is, but there is no J listed on that registry as far as I can tell from looking at it here. The close-up will show us a little bit better there. Moving to the front, you've got the big deflector. It looks very much like a whale mouth, like a mega mouth shark kind of thing. Not a fan of that. I wish they would have kept the secondary hull and had the deflector down here, but the producers are like, we need to tie into NX-01 because the audience won't understand that this is a descent of the Enterprise, which is totally stupid in my opinion. The audience is not stupid. I think the producers are in general, because they underestimate their audience a lot. It should have had one down here to continue the legacy of the evolution of the Enterprise, but that's okay. You got that detail in there, some pink and some, well, it's kind of like a violet, I guess, and some red detailing in there. Again, it's a shame about that being loose, but that's easily fixable. It's not a huge issue. The bottom of the saucer is primarily the same as the top. Same kind of details, same kind of plate details, same kind of windows, and same kind of white spots as well. There's also a long spine or stripe down the middle, which would be like a secondary hull of sorts. And it's not super detailed. There's a few lines, a few white dots along that. Moving to the back of the lower secondary hull, you got a few little details in there. Again, this thing is huge, so these parts are all quite large. And at the rear there appears to be some kind of impulse engine or some kind of other drive. It's purple and white, which is not the standard impulse engine look, but it is there, and yeah. So flipping it over to the top though, again, you got the spine that runs down the middle of the ship here and runs back into the struts, and the struts are quite swept and thin, but again, it's speaking to future technology. Spindly doesn't automatically mean weak, and advanced tech would allow for this to be quite stable and substantial. Actually, when you scale this up and do a size comparison, the attachment points here that look very spindly are in fact quite large when compared to other Enterprises. So it also has a dome here, which is probably some kind of observatory or perhaps a shield generator or something, but it looks very much like R2-D2. Looks like they got an astromech droid for navigation stuck in there. So from different angles, it does kind of look like it could be an astromech droid. It's kind of neat. I kind of like it. But I'm not quite sure what that is. Again, we'd have to go talk to Doug again, and I think we probably talked about these things on our video with Doug, and I just noticed too, this whole part is attached. So this part is attached to this part, so this part is lifted up. If you push that part down, and then push the middle part down, it looks a lot better already. It's not as loose. So it is all one piece, and it would require a little bit of glue just to hold that down. You just have to wait till that dries and then let go, and it would be fine. So now moving to the most controversial part of the ship, and that is the nacelle. As you can see, they're quite small, quite spindly, as a lot of people say, even though they are quite large when compared to other Enterprises. Kind of neat. They got a red marker light on one side and a green marker light on the other side, as per the standard navigational Star Trekness. Neat shapes in the nacelles. I love that from the side. The Bizarre and the blue part are detached from the top. They are supposed to be like that. That is how the model is. Again, future tech. But they are very fragile. I'd be very careful with these. As a matter of fact, my one is bent down a little bit. Probably can't see it so great there, but it is bent down a little bit compared to the other side. But they're nice. If you put them in front of a light, they do glow. So if you have a window behind them, they will glow. The Bizarre collectors and the main part of the nacelle there, the blue part. Interesting design, and yeah, not a lot of detail really on the struts. There appear to be some like vents almost at the leading edge there. And then there's some, looks like mold release marks on the bottom of the struts, which is a bit of a shame, but anyway, so that is the Enterprise J, guys. So love it or hate it. This is a pretty cool model. I hate that this part is loose, but then again, it's not a difficult fix to fix that. So don't be discouraged about that at all. As I said, this whole saucer being metal makes this quite substantial for weight, actually, considering how slender and slim it is. So it is quite good, but the back and these nacelles are all plastic. You gotta be very, very careful with these. If this falls, you're gonna bust something off for sure, so do not drop it. Anyway, that's it for the Enterprise J model. We're gonna take it over on the turntable now and take a look at it and wrap this video up. So, Universe class to the rescue! It's going to the future, because it's way in the future. Let's go. Alright guys, here she is on the turntable, and as you can see, you got some nice details there. I think because the ship is so big, there's not as much attention to detail as some of the other XLs, unfortunately. It seems that size negates a lot of nice fine details on these models, which is weird because you think that the bigger ships would have more detail, but just not the case. So it is. Let's do our normal routine of, if you put it on a lower shelf, this actually looks quite nice. There's a big flat surface. There's a lot of great shapes from the top when you look down at this. So if you have it on a coffee table or a lower shelf, it really kind of pops and looks good. If you move it to an eye level shelf, this is where it just totally falls apart for me. It's too flat. There's nothing there from any angle pretty much. I mean, the front's not too bad. Not the hugest fan of it. And the profile is where it just loses me. I don't like that upswept look, unfortunately. So on an eye level shelf, I honestly don't think this works, and I would say to not display it like that, but it's up to you. You know, of course, you might have a favorite view of it like this, but it just kind of disappears, which is a shame. It really is. Now if you put it on an upper shelf, hey look, there's Baby Yoda. Or the child, sorry. Kevin, as I call him. Anyway, if you put it on a lower shelf, again, you bring that whole large surface area to bear, and it looks actually pretty good. Some angles like that, it looks very impressive. The nacelles don't seem very spindly from that look. It actually holds up quite well from underneath, so it might be worth putting this on a higher shelf if you can't do a lower one. I would avoid an eye level shelf, however. I don't think that quite works, but that's just me, and I could be totally off base with that. So anyway guys, that is the Enterprise J from Eaglemoss. Pretty impressive ship. Now you guys can pick this up yourself. There's a link in the description. Just click that, head on over to the Eaglemoss store and throw it in your cart, and then use the discount code Trekyards10. Will save you 10% off anything you order through Eaglemoss. The only thing that the discount code does not apply to is pre-orders, so keep that in mind, guys. So there we have it. It is what it is. There's the Enterprise J. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Be sure to like and subscribe to both this channel and the Captain Foley personal channel. And don't forget to check out other videos by us as well. Always a lot of great stuff on this channel. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the future. Bye, everybody.